All right, go.
Hi guys, it's Kim, aka Busy Mom. Today I'm actually running behind. I was cleaning the house and I realized it's 8:30. Yeah, 8:30. Kids haven't eaten and everybody wants to know what's for dinner. So I, of course, saw a recipe this week on Facebook for a garlic butter Tuscan shrimp. It looked pretty easy, so I'm going to try that out today. And the kids are, as you see, they're already behind me, and they've asked me a million times, what's for dinner, Mom? What's for dinner? So I'm going to throw this together. However, I am making some changes to the recipe. So it calls for crushed garlic, and you know I'm always looking to save a little time. So I'm using store frozen already garlic, white wine,
Hold on, dude.
heavy whipping cream. I mean, you can hear my little one. He's already asking for a little snack. Here, Brandon. I've got my olive oil. We'll be putting it over thin spaghetti. Bagged spinach, already cleaned. 1 onion. And the recipe does ask that you put in roasted tomatoes or sun-dried tomatoes. And my kids, they won't eat that. And so I know that the way around that though is so you still have the same color, you're adding a little extra flavor to it. We're using roasted red peppers. And so it won't have that bitter flavor of the sun-dried tomatoes. And the kids will definitely eat it up. So I'm gonna get started now on my chopping and check back in with you guys. Okay, so I've got my onion, I've cut off the ends, and I've just cut it into cubes. My favorite thing is the Pampered Chef food chopper. It saves me a ton of time from crying when you're cutting the onions. I know everybody else, I mean, you guys have that too. The kids, of course, complain they can feel it. So everybody's yelling, my eyes are burning. So I'm just chopping this down really, smaller pieces. Now, it calls for full onion in the recipe, but I don't really like things to be too oniony, so I'm probably going to use about half of what it says. And you see it's chopping up really quick and nice with this, so I don't even have to worry about it. So, alright, so I'm looking at the recipe here, and it says I've already got my skillet on the stove here, and so I've got my water boiling for my pasta, and I've got the skillet ready to go to start putting all the ingredients in. And so the first thing that we're going to do is it says heat over medium skillet. You're going to melt your butter and garlic, and you're going to fry it until it's fragrant. Now, I'm using already crushed garlic, so I'm not going to have to cook it for that long. And I'll probably go a little heavier on the butter. It says 2 tablespoons. I'll do about 3. I like things a little buttery, but I'll let everybody know that. So counting it out here. And this is a typical night in my house. While I'm trying to cook, the kids are usually bouncing around like this and involved. And so you just kind of work around them. All right, so I'm dropping in my butter. Turn the stove on. I have an electric stove, so I usually put it to about a 4 or 5, just so it can kind of start melting. So we've got the butter in there. It'll start to melt a little bit. Now, it says 6 cloves of garlic. You don't want to get too crazy with the garlic. So I have the 3 cubes in here. And so I start out with the 3, kind of half of it. And throughout the recipe, I'll kind of test it to see if I need to add a little bit more in as we go. You can always add in, you can't take out. And I've learned that lesson the hard way, and there's nothing like too much garlic in your food. Okay, so we've got that in. All right, so I'm gonna just take this here, we'll stir, help it so it doesn't get stuck into the pan. Turn this up a little bit just because I'm standing right here. And turn down this pasta water since it's ready to go. And now we're just melting our butter and our garlic here. So we're going to let that go for a little bit there. I'm about to add in a half a cup of white wine. I've already added my onions to the pan. And so I'm putting the wine in so that it can kind of start to simmer in, and you don't have to have that flavor to it. You want to kind of burn off some of the wine flavor. So that'll go right in here. Don't worry about it, baby. It's okay. All right, so I've added the white wine to it. All right, so I'm just mixing that up in here now. I've got, so we're gonna let these onions now kind of sit in here, and you want them to get really soft. You don't want anybody to bite into a crunchy onion in your meal. You want it to kind of just have that smooth transition in. So that's what I'm doing now. So the onions now, they're soaking in that nice aroma. I can smell it. Mixed with the wine. It's definitely cooking the way it should be there. And in the sink now, I've got my shrimp. I'm defrosting them a little bit here because they were frozen. You know, I showed you I bought them already cooked to save a little bit of time. So I'm just kind of taking the frost off a little bit so that they'll really defrost quicker in the pan once I add them to the sauce. Okay. So I'm just going to stir this. You don't want it to burn. So important to make sure you just kind of stay on top of it.
Go.
So now to the pan, I've got my heavy whipping cream. I've done, it's 1.5 cups that I'm adding to it. So I'm going to put that in here now. So that's going in. And so we're going to let that simmer a little. So turn it up, back up to about a 5 if you're using electric. Whatever your midway point is, regardless of whatever stove you're using, that's pretty much what you're going to use. And to my pan, so to my pasta, I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil. It's a new bottle, so let me just pull this off. Just a little bit of olive oil to the pan for the pasta sauce, for the pasta noodles, just because I don't want them to stick together. My kids completely start complaining if they get clumps. And they don't always cook as freely. So I want to make sure each noodle is correctly separated out. So the olive oil definitely helps with that. And I'm at the point now in the meal that I'm going to add the pasta to the pot. And I'm just using store brand thin spaghetti. I find it works the best. Soaks up the sauce really nicely. And so cook pretty much most of this package so that this way we have a little leftovers. So I'll break it before it goes in. Use my muscles and drop those in there. And I mean, it's okay if you have extra pasta. I feel like if you make too much pasta, the thing about it is you can freeze it. And I love to freeze stuff. Because if it's frozen and you're running late from work one night, you know what? You can call home and ask somebody to defrost it for you, or you just pull out of the freezer and pop it in a microwave for a couple minutes. With pasta, when you're defrosting it, you don't have to reboil it. What you're going to do is just take it out really close to when you're going to be eating it. You're going to run some hot water over it, or just stick it really quickly in a pot of boiling water, and it's going to separate out and it's ready to eat. It's going to save you a ton of time. I often keep it in the freezer for that purpose, just because that extra 20 minutes at night or so to boil the pasta, I don't have it. I'm working until most nights 6 o'clock at night, so I'm walking in the door at about 7. All right, so we got our pasta here, so I've turned the heat back up on this so they can cook pretty much around the same time. We've got our heavy cream here. It's simmering, which is great, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit lower. And to this pot, I'm going to now add in the spinach and shrimp. So it's already pre-washed, thoroughly washed, ready to eat. If you feel more comfortable, you can always wash it again. I haven't had an issue with this brand. It's Stop and Shop brand. I'm just going to add it there nicely to the pan. And just kind of stir it in.
Hey.
Come on, guys. Please, we're not going to get into a disagreement here tonight. Can it please? We don't need a demonstration of how you hit him. That's not how we treat each other. All right, so you're stirring this in, the pasta. and this will go nicely on it. So you look at the spinach, and you want to eyeball it, because if you use more sauce or you're doubling, you're going to want a little bit more spinach. So it's about how much you really want in it. I think this is a good amount. I've used pretty much most of the bag. We know spinach simmer down, it goes down pretty much to nothing, you know, whenever you make spinach. So just drop that in there. Then next with it, you're going to put in your shrimp. And just drop the shrimp pieces in there as well. Remember, now these are already cooked. And to that, we're going to then put in some Italian seasoning, already done. So the regular McCormick's Perfect French Italian. I'll give it a couple of shakes, maybe 3 or 4 shakes you want to do in there, just so you get a nice little like sprinkling to it. Your roasted red peppers. So this is where you're going to have to gauge. You like the big pieces, small pieces. Just going to break it up a little bit. Hands are clean. I'm going to just break it into the pan. You can dice it before if that's what you want to do. And I'm really just eyeballing it. I don't have a set amount that I want to put in there. Enough so that it gets the flavor, but you know, not too much that it overtakes it. So maybe like 6 or 7 pieces. Really, like separate it out. I mean, they're kind of bigger chunks, so I'm just breaking them up so that it's a nice flow. And I see our pasta is starting to pick back up, so I'm just cutting out these. Alright. So to the pot, I just added in some Parmesan. Now, Parmesan cheese, everybody has a love-hate with it, I think. And so you kind of want to do it to taste. So I did like maybe like 5 or 6 shakes to it. And so that hopefully will be sufficient. So now I'm looking at this, you're wondering if it's enough sauce. I think it's going to be enough. But, you know, sometimes you're eyeballing it and you want to see. So, okay, so I've added in the Parmesan, so let's take a sip. Definitely all the flavors are melting in right there. And you don't even need more garlic. If you're following the amounts that I put in, it is the perfect amount. And so the next day, if you're having leftovers, like I said, you might have some, it's going to really soak in it. I find day 2 food to be so good. Sign me up. So right now this is just simmering. You're going to bump yourself up again to a little bit. I'm going to pull it up to about a 5. I was simmering down at a 2 on the stove.
I'm hungry.
I know. Well, dinner is actually going to be ready. We are waiting for our pasta and for this to boil. So in about, we're probably about 3 minutes from dinner now.
Give me that
Plating,
Mickey Mouse
and it'll be
dome,
on
and
the
I
stove.
didn't even get a chance.
So I will be back.
All right, go.
Okay. All right, so pasta's done. So right now I'm going to walk over to the sink here. It's a little hot. I'm going to dump the pasta. Got a strainer in here.
Hi.
Want to make sure that it's not sticking together, which, you know, like I said, the kids can say that, so I'm just going to fluff it a little bit with that. And Julianne, I think our viewers have got, yeah. All right, so take some of this, a couple of scoops here.
Can I sit on the counter?
Grab a spoon here. Our sauce is done and came out just great. I will put it here.
Daddy. Daddy.
And that's it. And we are ready to eat.
Daddy.
So, pretty quick. Didn't take too long to prepare. You can please make sure to subscribe to me at Busy Mom. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, guys.